Hi. Hi. Oh, there I am a little. Hi, I'm checking my lighting here. I thought maybe you would all want to see the wind behind me picking up, and the boat horn just went like it because he couldn't see me. Well, now the connection is unstable. Maybe if I sit right here, you can still see the tree a little. Maybe you can see that nice art. Hold on one second. How's that? It's okay? Maybe. Yeah, there I am. That's bright enough, right? You can see me. I just want you to maybe look at the wind a little behind me, have a little atmosphere with short stories for adult listeners. And we are on the Island Free Library YouTube channel. And we are at episode, it says my connection is unstable. Such a pain. Well, you know what, Block Island, I tried to tell you that it wasn't great to get this fiber, but nobody listened. So this is what you get, unstable connection. I'll move again. Let's see, I'll go down here. Looks like I'm losing people too because of the connection. But I'll go to my normal spot, although I don't think it's always good here. And, you know, again, I just was trying to get you a little atmospheric quality there. But this is fun. Let me just get the light. Okay, 3 spots later, halfway through an introduction. Let's see if this works. All right, here we are. Same old spot. No blowing wind outside the window for you today. Oh, well. Maybe another day. It is starting to blow here. It is not by any means terrible yet, but they're predicting a storm for us to get this storm later. Maybe some of you have already had it, right? Folks south of us have probably already had it. So hang tight, everybody, while this blows through. So I started to say that Frankenstein Tea is an afternoon check-in with stories for adult listeners. And on this YouTube channel, in episodes, 97 live, as a way to stay connected to the patrons, 97 times. Now, that means I'm coming up on 100 on the YouTube channel, but I think I'm probably past 100 because when I started this program, I was live on Facebook for quite some time. And then I didn't upload them all to the YouTube channel. I uploaded some of them to get this channel started, but not all of them, thinking I would continue with this program. And so there would always be plenty on the YouTube channel. And there are. So, but I still think it's, you know, we're getting towards a marker there at 100. So I'm definitely thinking a little bit about these 3 stories, 98, 99, and 100. And I'm also thinking about a story. I think I know what I'm going to read on Monday, which in Rhode Island, we celebrate as Victory Over Japan Day. It's pretty gruesome that we celebrate that in Rhode Island. That is a state holiday. So I have something that I'm going to read that day. I think I know what I'm going to read that day. So, you know, I'm not always this planned and plotted, but I'm planning and plotting for this week for, again, 98, 99, and 100, and then VJ Day and a couple days in between. So for 98 today, 98th episode of Frankenstein Tea on the YouTube channel of the Island Free Library, I'm going to read some Chekhov. Pretty substantial guy. Pretty, you know, can't have a short story program without reading some Chekhov. I think I read something by him, and I probably will know when I get to it. And this book is called The Beggar and Other Stories of Anton Chekhov. And so I could read The Beggar. And I did just read The Beggar a little while ago. And so I could read that. But I'm thinking about reading something called The Young Wife. I think that's what I'm going to read. Have a sip of my iced coffee. Maybe you're having a sip of tea. Maybe this storm would be a nice tea day. So I think I'm going to read The Young Wife. But we could always come back to The Beggar. But, I think Chekhov deserves a place here in the top 100. I was thinking, should I put together a little, my top 10 favorites as we get to 100? I don't know. I'm thinking all kinds of things. But for today, the 98th YouTube episode of Frankenstein Tea, Anton Chekhov, The Young Wife. The little town of B, consisting of 2 or 3 crooked streets, was sound asleep. There was a complete stillness in the motionless air. Nothing could be heard but far away, outside the town no doubt, the barking of a dog in a thin, hoarse tenor. It was close upon daybreak. Everything had long been asleep. The only person not asleep was the young wife of Chernurchadormik, a qualified dispenser who kept a chemist's shop at B. She had gone to bed and got up again 3 times, but could not sleep. She did not know why. She sat at the open window in her nightdress and looked into the street. She felt bored, depressed, vexed. So vexed that she felt quite inclined to cry. Again, she did not know why. There seemed to be a lump in her chest that kept rising into her throat. A few paces behind her, Chernurchadormik lay curled up close to the wall, snoring sweetly. A greedy flea was stabbing the bridge of his nose, but he did not feel it, and was positively smiling, for he was dreaming that everyone in the town had a cough, and was buying from him the king of Denmark's cough drops. He could not have been awakened now by pinpricks, or by cannon, or by caresses. The chemist's shop was almost at the extreme end of the town, so that the chemist's wife could see far into the fields. She could see the eastern horizon growing pale by degrees, then turning crimson as though from a great fire. A big, broad-faced moon peeped out unexpectedly from behind bushes in the distance. It was red. As a rule, when the moon emerges from behind bushes, it appears to be blushing. Suddenly, in the stillness of the night, there came the sound of footsteps and a jingle of spurs. She could hear voices. That must be the officers going home to the camp from the police captains, thought the chemist's wife. Soon afterwards, 2 figures wearing officers' white tunics came into sight, one big and tall, the other thinner and shorter. They slouched along by the fence, dragging one leg after the other and talking loudly together. As they passed the chemist's shop, they walked more slowly than ever and glanced up at the windows. "It smells like a chemist's," said the thin one. "And so it is. Ah, I remember. I came here last week to buy some castor oil. There's a chemist here with a sour face and the jawbone of an ass. Such a jawbone, my dear fellow. It must have been a jawbone like that Samson killed the Philistines with." "Yes," said the big one in a bass voice. The pharmacist is asleep, and his wife is asleep too. She is a pretty woman, Uptoyosov. I saw her. I liked her very much. Tell me, doctor, can she possibly love that jawbone of an ass? Can she? No, most likely she does not love him, sighed the doctor, speaking as though he were sorry for the chemist. The little woman is asleep behind the window, Apsayosov. What? Tossing with the heat, her little mouth half open and one little foot hanging out of bed. I bet that fool the chemist doesn't realize what a lucky fellow he is. No doubt he sees no difference between a woman and a bottle of carbolic. I say, doctor, said the officer, stopping, let us go into the shop and buy something. Perhaps we shall see her. What an idea! In the night? What of it? They are obliged to serve one even at night. My dear fellow, let us go in. If you like. The chemist's wife, hiding behind the curtain, heard a muffled ring. Looking round at her husband, who was smiling and snoring sweetly as before, she threw on her dress, slid her bare feet into her slippers, and ran to the shop. On the other side of the glass door, she could see two shadows. The chemist's wife turned up the lamp and hurried to the door to open it. And now she felt neither vexed nor bored nor inclined to cry, though her heart was thumping. The big doctor and the slender Apsayosov walked in. Now she could get a view of them. The doctor was corpulent and swarthy. He wore a beard and was slow in his movements. At the slightest motion, his tunic seemed as though it would crack, and perspiration came onto his face. The officer was rosy, clean-shaven, feminine-looking, and as supple as an English whip. What may I give you? Asked the chemist's wife, holding her dress across her bosom. Give us, 4 pennyworth of peppermint lozenges. Without haste, the chemist's wife took down a jar from a shelf and began weighing out lozenges. The customer stared fixedly at her back. The doctor screwed up his eyes like a well-fed cat, while the lieutenant was very grave. It's the first time I've seen a lady serving in a chemist's shop, observed the doctor. There's nothing out of the way in it, replied the chemist's wife, looking out of the corner of her eye at the rosy-cheeked officer. My husband has no assistant, and I always help him. To be sure, you have a charming little shop. What a number of different jars. And you are not afraid of moving about among the poisons? Brr. The chemist's wife sealed up the parcel and handed it to the doctor. Apsayosov gave her the money. Half a minute of silence followed. The men exchanged glances, took a step towards the door, then looked at one another again. Will you give me 2 pennyworth of soda? Said the doctor. Again, the chemist's wife slowly and languidly raised her hand to the shelf. Haven't you in the shop anything such as, muttered Apsayosov, moving his fingers, something, so to say, allegorical, revivifying, seltzer water, for instance. Have you any seltzer water? Yes, answered the chemist's wife. Bravo! You're a fairy, not a woman. Give us 3 bottles. The chemist's wife hurriedly sealed up the soda and vanished through the door into the darkness. A peach, said the doctor with a wink. You wouldn't find a pineapple like that in the island of Madeira, eh? What do you say? Do you hear the snoring, though? That's his worship, the chemist, enjoying a sweet repose. A minute later, the chemist's wife came back and set 5 bottles on the counter. She had just been in the cellar and so was flushed and rather excited. Shh, quietly, said Upsa when, after uncorking the bottles, she dropped the corkscrew. Don't make such a noise. You'll wake your husband. Well, what if I do wake him? He is sleeping so sweetly. He must be dreaming of you. To your health. Besides, boomed the doctor, hiccuping after the seltzer water, husbands are such a dull business that it would be very nice of them to always be asleep. How good a drop of red wine would be in this water. What an idea, laughed the chemist's wife. That would be splendid. What a pity they don't sell spirits in chemist shops. Though you ought to sell wine as medicine. Have you any vinum gallicum rubrum? Yes. Well, then, give us some. Bring it here, damn it. How much do you want? Quantum sati. Give us an ounce each in the water, and afterwards we'll see. Apsa, what do you say? First with water, and afterwards per se. The doctor and Apsa sat down to the counter, took off their caps, and began drinking the wine. The wine, one must admit, is wretched stuff, vinum nastissim, though in the presence of air, it tastes like nectar. You are enchanting, madam. In imagination, I kiss your hand. I would give a great deal to do so, not in imagination, said Apsa. On my honor, I'd give my life. That's enough, said Madame Church-Namordick, flushing and assuming a serious expression. What a flirt you are, though, the doctor laughed softly, looking slyly at her from under his brows. Your eyes seem to be firing shot. Piff-paff. I congratulate you. You've conquered. We are vanquished. The chemist's wife looked at their ruddy faces, listened to their chatter, and soon she, too, grew quite lively. Oh, she felt so gay. She entered into the conversation, she laughed, flirted, and even, after repeated requests from the customers, drank 2 ounces of wine. You officers ought to come in oftener from the camp, she said. It's awful how dreary it is here. I'm simply dying of it. I should think so, said the doctor indignantly. Such a peach, a miracle of nature, thrown away in the wilds. How well, Gribdabayev said. Into the wilds, to Saratov. It's time for us to be off, though. Delighted to have made your acquaintance. Very. How much do we owe you? The chemist's wife raised her eyes to the ceiling and her lips moved for some time. 12 rubles, 48 kopecks, she said. Upsa took out of his pocket a fat pocketbook and after fumbling for some time among the notes, paid. Your husband's sleeping sweetly. He must be dreaming, he muttered, pressing her hand at parting. I don't like to hear silly remarks. What silly remarks? On the contrary, it's not silly at all. Even Shakespeare said, happy is he who in his youth is young. Let go my hand. At last, after much talk and after kissing the lady's hand at parting, the customers went out of the shop irresolutely, as though they were wondering whether they had not forgotten something. She ran quickly into the bedroom and sat down in the same place. She saw the doctor and the officer on coming out of the shop, walk lazily away a distance of 20 paces. Then they stopped and began whispering together. What about? Her heart throbbed. There was a pulsing in her temples, and why she did not know. Her heart beat violently, as though those two whispering outside were deciding her fate. 5 minutes later, the doctor parted from Obstyosov and walked on, while Obstyosov came back. He walked past the shop once and a second time. He would stop near the door and then take a few steps again. At last, the bell tinkled discreetly. What? Who was there? The chemist's wife heard her husband's voice suddenly. There's a ring at the bell, and you don't hear it? He said severely. Is that the way to do things? He got up, put on his dressing gown, and staggering, half asleep, flopped in his slippers to the shop. What is it? He asked Obtyosov. Give me 4 pennyworth of peppermint lozenges. Sniffing continually, yawning, dropping asleep as he moved, and knocking his knees against the counter, the chemist went to the shelf and reached down the jar. 2 minutes later, the chemist's wife saw Obstyosov go out of the shop, and, after he had gone some steps, she saw him throw the packet of peppermints on the dusty road. The doctor came from behind a corner to meet him. They met and, gesticulating, vanished in the morning mist. How unhappy I am, said the chemist's wife, looking angrily at her husband, who was undressing quickly to get into bed again. Oh, how unhappy I am, she repeated, suddenly melting into bitter tears. And nobody knows. Nobody knows. I forgot 4 pence on the counter, muttered the chemist, pulling the quilt over him. Put it away in the till, please. And at once he fell asleep again. That was The Young Wife by Anton Chekhov. This illustrated story classics, The Beggar and Other Stories by Anton Chekhov, was published in 1949. And I can't quite tell when The Young Wife was published, but other stories from this book were copyright 1921. So let's see. Yeah, not sure when that one was published. I could do a little research and let you know, but right now hold on. 3 Sisters, The Cherry Orchard, Chekhov, lived outside Moscow. No, it doesn't. I don't think it tells me when that one was done. But early 1900s. Okay. Weather the storm. Hang tough, everybody. Wear your mask, wash your hands, keep your distance, eat right, sleep well, rest, relax. See you tomorrow for another episode, the 99th episode of Frankenstein Tea on this very YouTube channel. For now, over and out. Peace.